All right, I think we'll go ahead. All right, yeah. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for our APAC Scientific Forum in August. So today we have got quite a packed agenda. We'll go through the agenda and we'll try to cover as much as we can given the time that we have. Yep, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, and we want to start off by thanking the community for responding to the survey. The survey's intention was to have us a view of how we can support you in various aspects of Odyssey journey. So we'll have covered that, and I'll go on to a bit of discussions on the follow-up survey. Where we want to be focusing our efforts more. We want to have a bit more engagement there with the community here and the audience here as well. We'll give a high-level update for the APAC study updates, and then we also want to give you a preview of the OMOP Data Catalogue that our A-Star team have developed. If you recall, about 2 to 3 months back, Cindy and myself, we gave an overview of what we've been working on in Singapore for the Data Vault's OMOP Data Catalogue. So now we are in the final phase of getting the data catalog ready, and it's going to be live in August, essentially showing the Gusto cohort and how you can look up the OMOP concept IDs in the Gusto cohort. So I want to get some thoughts and inputs from the community before we go live as well. Yeah. Right, let's move on. Okay. Yeah, so this is the summary of the survey results we have. On the left, you'll see what the survey looks like. We gave a very high level question here in terms of which area would you like to have support on. And we see that, what we're seeing is there's a lot of interest in the area of data analytics as where people would like to have more support and future sessions, probably be more focused on. And then followed by initiating network research studies, evidence quality, and uniform data representation. Although the number of responses are a bit on the smaller end, this is just probably a quick glance of what we're looking at. Of course, it would be great if we could get more and more support in the future in terms of the responses. But where we are seeing a lot of the interest, at least in this small response, is data analytics. It could also signal that we perhaps are at a stage of transitioning more towards data analytics, given that our data sets are getting more and more harmonized, and we're starting to have more and more network studies being formed. So that's where we feel that there could be interest in the community, right? And that's where we also want to go towards the next phase of the survey. If we go to the next slide, we want to start engaging our community here in terms of what element of data analytics we should be focusing more on, and where we would like to see more working sessions. And that's where we thought today's session could be a prelude, where we can kick off some of these discussions, and what kind of support we can be giving. I see Roger there in the audience. He was one of our active speakers in the previous rounds. But just maybe we start with Roger to see, in data analytics, any particular area where you would like to see a bit more support. I think Roger, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, a colleague of mine, Christine Hallinan, she's just starting. She's doing medicinal cannabis. She's doing a study on that. So she's designing the analysis in Atlas at the moment. So she's interested in expanding that to a network study. But she's just at the stage where she's done the analysis on our source data, and we're also doing it on the OMOP data, and we're comparing the two. And she's at the stage where she's designing it in Atlas at the moment. So when she's got that analysis, she'll potentially need help turning that into a network study. The other person who's using our OMOP data set at the moment, we've got a PhD student, Rochelle, who's a general practitioner, and she's doing a PhD with us, and she's starting to look at our OMOP data set as well. So we're at the early stages of researchers actually beginning to use the data. So they're doing the analysis on our own data set, but they're not sort of expanding it to network studies yet, but that'll probably be the next step.
Okay, and in terms of Atlas, anything in particular that your team or yourself, perhaps like creating cohorts, running analysis that are more
We're
standard?
pretty good on Atlas actually, because those short videos that Patrick did a while ago are very good at answering questions. So we've been able to follow those and set up our own, concept sets, etc. So we've not really encountered problems with that. So yeah, we're pretty good on Atlas. What we've not done is we've not designed RStudio queries for our OMOP data set yet. So we've been confined to Atlas. So the next step is, probably to have a look in RStudio.
Okay. So will there be interest in having it more focused in the area of RStudio based technical discussions, perhaps in the future?
Well, potentially, yeah. It's just a question of I've not had time to explore it too much. I got to the stage where I made a connection to our CDM via RStudio, but then I got busy with other work and didn't, pursue that. But I got to the stage where I could make a connection to the CDM via RStudio, but I didn't really pursue it any further at that stage because, I just became busy with other work.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. Definitely to help us think a bit more how we can set up a bit more sessions there. Mark, any thoughts there? I think you're the expert, and you could give us some insights where we could be sort of steering this towards as well. Yeah.
I mean, the places I would go is some tutorials over the individual analytic packages like cohort method and patient level prediction. So very early on in the Odyssey tutorial series, Martin and I put together a day-long one for new user cohorts, and Jenna has one for basic patient level prediction. Most of them follow the material almost exactly that's been moved into the Book of Odyssey. So those are great places to start, right? You pick a team that's interested in doing predictive models, and you fit on a CDM a simple predictive model for GI bleed after initiation of diclofenac, a COX-2 inhibitor, or one of the new novel oral anticoagulants is kind of a fine example. And then for people interested in comparative cohort methods, there's some simple tutorials also looking at novel oral anticoagulants versus diclofenac for like risk of GI, comparative study for risk of GI bleed. And all of the material is there in several different forms, right? As I mentioned, both kind of recorded tutorials and also in the Book of Odyssey, and stuff that we can kind of put together that will be specialized towards interests for individuals in the community.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can sort of cater them and tailor a bit more specific use cases as well. But yeah, good place to start, Book of Odyssey and already existing tutorials. Any more thoughts, from audience here? Where and how, what kind of sessions you'd like to see, in this scientific forum sessions?
So, Roger, did you deploy the Atlas on Google Cloud platform? You're muted.
Sorry, Chan. Yeah, I was looking at that just before I came into the meeting, actually. So the one that you said was up, that's no longer up. I think I clicked on the link and it just times out. I'm looking at deploying it. My issue is I've got to put a credit card in to pay for it, and I've just got to think through how I'm going to do that. I don't really want to put my personal credit card in to set up an Atlas instance, so I'm trying to get a University of Melbourne credit card to use. It's interesting because we've got a test Atlas server that we use. And I'm wondering if we should actually just run it in Docker or something like that, because then we wouldn't have the issue of having to have a recurrent payment to Google, because it's just awkward having to make the payment. So yes, I am looking at that, Chan, but I've not progressed it yet.
Yeah, I sent a wrong link to the live Atlas, I think. I will resend the link for the current live Atlas if you use.
Yeah, that would be very useful because the other thing we've been doing, we filmed all the sessions from the APAC symposium.
Right.
And we've been editing those. And your session in particular, where you go through the fluoroquinone analysis on Atlas, it'd be very useful to have a test instance of Atlas for people to follow along with what you're doing. So that's our interest in setting up a test version of Atlas. So yeah.
Yeah, so I put the link to the live Atlas instance on the chat. So
Okay.
You can use it.
I'm intrigued. Did you use your own credit card, or did you use an institutional credit card for the?
Yeah, for this, I use the institutional credit card, which name is me actually.
Yeah. Okay, that's good information. Actually, I'll talk to my boss and say yes. This is what we did in Korea. So yeah.
Right.
I just don't want a recurrent payment on my own credit card for an Atlas server.
Yeah, I think in fact one of the topics could also be that how do we deploy Atlas servers for our various project groups here. There could be interest as well as one of the potential topics in the future. All right. Any other areas, perhaps more on the epidemiology side of things or statistics that we may need some support?
Okay, this might not be linked to data analytics, but I think one of the second largest group was evidence quality. At least for me, I think it'd be useful to go over some of the cohort diagnostics, the packages that were released more recently to see how that works and could be set up locally to do these large-scale network studies a bit more efficiently.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can take that as well as a potential futuristic topic. Anything on
and
the?
Mukesh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was asking
No.
any thoughts on the OMOP CDM standardization itself, like anything specific we should be focusing there in these sessions. Yeah. In terms of mapping or harmonization. Yeah. It had I think a fair amount of responses, but it looks like, yeah, perhaps it might be good to focus on the analytics and the evidence quality given the responses that we are seeing. Yeah. And yeah, that's also why we want to do a follow-up survey. So the questions will be more open-ended, like how we've been trying to gather some thoughts here, with the community, so that we can have a feel of, the kind of areas we can start focusing on, so we can have more focused sessions in the future dedicated to this, perhaps like 30 minutes, in just going through a particular tutorial, or another 30 minutes to do cohort diagnostics. So keep a lookout for the follow-up survey, and we will plan accordingly. So Atif, you're saying something. Yeah.
No, we're just asking, as we build these videos and packages out, is that going to be hosted somewhere? Are we just doing it as part of a community call? Like, where would the audience get an idea of upcoming learning segments?
So the Odyssey website is where we can be using to plan ahead, showcase a lot of the topics, and even the videos and the materials, we can start having them shared as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I think it's definitely a good start, in terms of where we can be heading towards in the future sessions. Thanks again for the valuable inputs there. Let's move ahead in terms of the next set of slides. Yeah. So here we wanted to give a quick update on the APAC study progress, essentially on the SOS challenge. So there'll be more details coming up, and I think we had a good discussion at the APAC symposium as well. So, in terms of a question here, is fluoroquinolone really associated with the development of aortic aneurysms? And right now we have Nicole and team that are trying to wrap up the results and getting the publication ready. I think the amazing thing here is the timeline, right? It took us just 4 months to get, right from study conception to evidence generation. So it's been a very good use case for us to show that, we can effectively do network studies and, do them in a short span of time with, harmonizing different cohorts together. And yeah, we did have a good bit of discussion at the symposium, and we had our set of findings, right, which showed that fluoroquinolone did not have the increased rates of aortic aneurysm or aortic dissection compared to trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole. And we had a bit of discussions in terms of how we should be conveying such results to the audience. So we thought that's also one of the takeaway, and even this could be also a way of thinking and getting our community thinking, right? How we are going to be conveying results to the general audience or the policymakers in terms of, our work and the future of our work. So perhaps we can also start thinking in these lines, as one of the takeaways from the symposium. I think in the next slide, we have. Yeah.
Well, I think Nicole has a.
Oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to, while we're on the fluoroquinolone study, yeah, that last point I thought was one of the key outcomes from the APAC symposium, and I wondered at the time, I think I suggested maybe we could start a work group, a communication work group or something along those lines for Odyssey more generally. So I would like to take that sort of ahead and maybe get a group of people together from this group or from global as well, and really kind of have a group that's interested in translation of evidence and how we might do that. So it might be that we take the results of the fluoroquinolone study and actually work together as a group to create a lay summary for consumers and to create a policy briefing document, for example, to the regulators or to general practice or to surgeons or whoever it might be. But we might sort of as a group think about how we actually create those documents or the briefings to the different consumers of the evidence. So I'll try to take that further and perhaps talk to Craig. Mark, do you know if there's something similar in global as a work group already, or is it not that?
Yeah, I know. I was on mute, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Formally in global, no. I mean, there definitely is a need. Without tooting my own horn too much. Well, I'm going to anyway. Sorry, Patrick's not here to toot it for me, so so I'll go ahead. I think the closest that we've come is in terms of clinical work has been the legend studies.
Yeah.
And there has been much talk, but almost no action on what policy briefings would look like.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, the EMA is considering evidence for and against increased risk of thyroid neoplasias based on second-line anti-diabetic agents that people are using.
Uh-huh.
So we've put together a small briefing for the EMA focused on that outcome across a number of different comparators. But it would be great to have a work group that could help kind of strategize what information needs to be going into these briefings. Because honestly, it looks like I came from a statistician, surprisingly, which is which is probably not as impactful as we could be. So please help.
Yes, exactly. And that came across clearly. What I think is a lay summary in terms of a statistician is not at all lay. So yeah, anyway, so Mukesh, I think we'll keep that on the list of action items and I'll see what I can pull together.
Yeah, that'll be great. I think we should in that space definitely, to translate the work they've been doing here for greater good. Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Right. Atif, you have your hand raised. Yeah.
No, I was just going to add to what Nicole said. I think it's a great idea to increase engagement and also bring people that are not traditionally part of these conversations, the patient advocacy groups, other stakeholders that might not necessarily be on the clinical side, but we need to be part of the communication group. So Nicole, I'm happy to help out in any way that I can as well.
All right. Good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move ahead then. Yeah. So these were the meta-analysis summary that we saw during the symposium itself. So yeah, comparatively, we don't see that effect there with the hazard ratios. Okay, let's move on. Yeah. Yeah, so we have Chung Soo as well. I think he'll be very happy to see this happening. So we're very proud as well to see that Chung Soo's work being accepted in the AMIA 2023 annual symposium, and this work was selected out of more than 1,400 submissions. So great job there, Chung Soo. You want to give some heads up, what's coming, and we understand that you're preparing the manuscript as well. So over to you, to give us some insights. Yeah.
First of all, thank you to all the co-authors and data partners, and yeah, because we are very happy we are very happy for this accepting abstract to the AMIA 2023, and maybe I will be there and I will present the poster in that section. So please come and join us our presentation, and thank you. And we are also finalized that study after the lastly accepting the data partners from the Singapore and Taiwan. So we are now finalizing and summarizing the results, and we are preparing the manuscript. So yeah, maybe manuscripts are coming soon. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's really awesome. All right. I think we're doing very well there. Hope to see more such efforts and work coming out from our group here. Okay, we are doing well with the time. It's 11:25 almost. We will come to the last agenda, which is more on the OMOP Data Catalogue. I think Cindy, yes. So just to give you a bit of background, in Singapore, we have this large birth cohort study, which essentially deals with maternal and child health. And in the previous meetings, we've shared a bit more on the Gusto cohort and Data Vault and OMOP Data Catalogue. So Cindy will be sharing more, a bit of quick intro as well for someone who missed that session. And then we'll show you more in terms of what the final prototype is looking like. And our vision is to use these as a working model for more and more OMOP data cohorts to be using similar ways of looking at data and doing collaborations as well. So yeah, do give us your inputs and thoughts as Cindy is sharing the prototype and demo. Over to you, Cindy, to share. Thanks. Cindy, you're mute. You're on mute. Can you hear us? Oh, there's some audio for Cindy.
Try the proverbial hit the leave button and re-enter. If that doesn't work, you got to restart. Yeah. Or plug in the speaker.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I changed my, sorry about that. I changed the mic. Okay, so let me share. Yeah, so I'll just give a brief introduction about the Gusto cohort for those that might not know about it yet. So this is like what Mukesh said, is a birth cohort study. Then we recruited the women at about 7 to 11 weeks of when they were pregnant, and we recruited about 1,450 women. Then during the delivery period, about 1,209 deliveries were made, and currently is in the year 13 stage, and about 800 plus 900 are currently still active. Yeah, so the research teams that we have are like women's health, child health, metabolic, neurodevelopment, imaging, systems biology. So we use this data and we created this A-star data bot that allows the researchers to look at what data we have and the variables that is in each data set. Then there's also they can look at the biospecimens that we have, or the omics data, and some visualizations that they can use to explore more on the gastro data. Yeah, then there's also the publications that they can see on what the gastro data that have been published, gastro analysis. Yeah. Then, so now we are creating and still working on the gastro OMOP Data Catalogue. Then we are following the CDM version 5.4 and currently still mainly using Athena and R for the mappings. Yeah, so now I'll give a brief demo about it. So this will be the homepage of the OMOP Data Catalogue. Then it will show the data model that we use. Yeah. So at the side of the tabs, there's like the person tables where there's the information about the mother, child, and the father. Yeah. So like for example, for the gender concept, you can click on the I and look at the breakdown of that variable that we have, and the breakdown like the male or female or the different categories for different variables. There's the condition table also, but we haven't had time to map a lot of the variables. So currently there's just 3 variables mapped. Then there's observation also, which is the same format as throughout all the tables lah. The measurement table is the most that we had mapped. Then there's the search bar here also, where you can search for the variables you want for, like let's say glucose. Then all the variables related to glucose will be shown here. Yeah. So I think that's about it. Any questions about it or comments?
I mean, this is great work that that in terms of the A-star going with you and Mukesh, and of course Morning in Singapore. I do wonder what is sort of the expected size of the number of the sort of mother-child pairs that you might populate this database with.
There will be about for the antenatal data, there will be about 1,450 data sets. 1,004. Then for postnatal, it depends on the cohort size at that time point. So the maximum pairs that we have will be about 1,400. Then currently it's around 880 pairs. So
Okay.
the data is about there, about 1,000-ish. Yeah.
Yeah, Atif has a question.
No, this is great, Cindy. Just a couple of questions. In terms of the number that you quoted, how complete is the data for all those 1,400 pairs? Are there certain amount of missingness in specific areas that are more? And two, I guess a follow-up question to that is the 1,400 mothers, how representative are they of the larger population in and around Singapore?
1,400 for the, yeah, not all of them answered all the questions at every time point, but the bulk of them do. For the representation of the Singapore population, I would feel it's quite representative of it because our the ethnicity breakdown until now, I think is quite similar to what it is in Singapore currently. Yeah. Guys, do you like to add on about it?
Yeah, because as you know, it's a longitudinal cohort, so we will expect to see dropouts, right? That's expected. So right now, out of the 1,400 that started, we have somewhere around 900 families still active at year 14. So it's not easy to retain as well, right? But it's still amazing for a cohort that's having close to about 75% retention rate. So globally, it's a good standard already. Yeah, and so with these 900 active numbers, there are new studies that are being planned as well. So now that the Gusto kids are entering adolescence and teenagehood, there's a lot of studies heading towards that angle. So it started off as a birth cohort study, looking into pregnancy and neonatal outcomes, and then it evolved into a child developmental study and maternal study, and now we are sort of building the cohort into the next phase. Like for the child is in the adolescence, there's a lot of interest in studying the adolescence development. For the mother, we are looking into early aging because the mothers are already heading towards menopause, right? And they are also transitioning from previously perhaps gestational diabetes to now type 2 diabetes. So there are also maternal studies that are being formed in this cohort. And the eventual goal is to hopefully we can form a second generation cohort out of this pool of people we have. So you have multi-generation data to start looking into developmental origin related hypothesis. Yeah. Yeah, I see two hands, Jung-Soo and Mark. Yeah, Jung-Soo. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I missed it, but is there information about the patient parent-child relationship included in this CDM format? That means, are there parent-child relationship defined in this current Gusto CDM? Because yeah, I also suggested to include parent-child relationship information in the claims data of South Korea, but it has not yet been included. But I just wondering how you guys included that information in your Gusto CDM.
Yeah, when you say parent-child relationships, what kind of information are you looking at? Or
yeah, that means that these babies are from dead mothers and fathers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, maybe Cindy, you can have a go at it. How we are linking them via the subject IDs. Yeah.
Yeah. So for Gusto data, we follow the mother and the child as a pair. So they have the same subject ID for the mother and her own child. Yeah. So currently we are linking them up by this subject ID. That we haven't reached there yet for the OMOP format data, but we would do something similar for the mother and child relationship or the father also. Yeah.
Yeah, that touches.
There's a family ID that we've used in our source data that's common to the mother, child, and father. So that's how we link them up. And like you rightly said, even in the OMOP CDM, we have to think along the same lines. of having that relationship binder there, so we know it's tagged to which family. Yeah, Mark. I think, yeah.
No, so this discussion is moving directly into some of the sort of the questions I had, both the question and then some suggestions on building connections with other work going on across the globe. So it sounds like for individuals in this registry, they're not yet linked to their complete OMOP electronic or OMOPized electronic health records. Is there a plan to at least individuals within this registry that live within different districts in Singapore that have ETL'd health records and OMOP? Is there a plan or the ability to import that information?
Yeah. So right now, GUSTO is a birth cohort research study, and essentially it covers across a few health phenotypes. And so there are elements to start building the OMOP work, and in particular, we are starting with the gestational diabetes, type 2 diabetes, metabolic outcome as the research questions. So that's where we've been prioritizing our mapping. And nationally, now we are starting to link them up with their EHR records. So that's where we are heading to expand this data pool to do real world work. And so the commonality is OMOP CDM. That's how we're going to be linking the GUSTO research cohort with the EHR data and make it more richer in terms of its value. Yeah.
No, that's going to be very valuable on a number of different fronts. One of those fronts where I'd like to help build some connections is in Odyssey Global. There's a maternal health work group, which is very interested in similar types of research questions as your group is. However, many are coming from, at least from a data perspective, exactly the other side. They have full EHR or administrative claims information about women who have given birth and children who are being followed, but the linkage between mother and child almost is never made, generally because of privacy issues or the data aggregation process. So there's huge effort in probabilistically linking, which is the opposite of what you have, in the sense you have the ground truth. So two ways to kind of foster research connections with what's going on at Odyssey Global and maternal health is, one, you could provide a ground truth data source, which one can use to kind of evaluate the probabilistic linkage methods which are going on for data aggregators that don't have that linkage information. And then of course the other natural connection is people are very much interested in these in these types of health questions, and you provide really complementary information to the research questions that the work group, in which the work group is very active. So when you guys are ready to reach out, and if you haven't already made connections, I can help that along.
Yeah, that'll be great, actually, to help us go in that space. In fact, that's been something in our thoughts as well. And as we know, the first step is to start the mapping, right? And now that we are starting to make good progress in the mapping, I think that'll be a nice step forward to start working closely with the maternal health group and how we can be taking this forward on both ends. And I was just talking to Atif just before the call, and there's a lot of interest in the maternal child data space at Akivia as well. So yeah, very happy to see how we can be tapping on the GUSTO data asset here to be building all these collaborations. Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts or questions?
And Mukesh, if folks want to know a bit more about GUSTO, is that the link on top? Is that the dashboard open, or is
so there's
the link different?
Link. Yeah, so Cindy is toggling over. Yeah, so you could actually go look up this link, https gustodataworld.sg. right? That itself will bring you to our homepage. Maybe Cindy, you can go to our homepage. Yeah, so this is the landing page, and you can then start to look at the existing source data format already, in Data Vault. And you can start exploring it, and there are visualizations and dashboards. So there's a full data catalog that shows you comprehensively what has been phenotyped in Gusto. And these are the data assets that we are now mapping into Odyssey CDM format. And as you know, it's 13 years worth of data. A lot of effort is needed there. So that's why we've been taking a very strategic approach in terms of what are the current questions of interest for network studies, and we've been focusing a lot on gestational diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Yeah, so happy to see if there are more questions, and we can start focusing our mapping efforts there as well as it comes along. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think Mark has put a link.
Oh, I just put a link to a presentation that Alison Callahan from Stanford gave almost a year ago now, starting to work within their EHR where they can partially link mother and infant.
Okay.
Of course, it's within one small academic EHR. There's a lot you can do within a small EHR.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think Jung-Soo has suggested on the parent-child relationship definition as well. Yeah, definitely good thoughts there, how we can take this further. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we had a very good discussion today. Very engaging, and a lot of exciting things coming up for. I think we're all good. Yeah. Thanks so much again for your time, and
Thanks, everyone.
thank you so much.
Thank you from the team upstairs.
Thank you, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Only those guys get that joke.
Yeah. Yeah, we are at level 12, right? So Marie always calls us, the ones that are sitting in the heaven.
Yes, the group from heaven, because we were doing a training in Singapore last year, and we did it in a facility, and we had everybody introduce themselves. They kept going, "We're from upstairs. We're from upstairs." So I'm like, "Oh, the stairways to heaven." So the group from heaven. So we were messing with those guys. So sorry, I know that's a lame joke. We got everybody in the room laughing. So that it spiced up the training. Yes, thank you very much for that.
All right. Thank you. So stay tuned for the next session on the 17th August for the community call. We'll have the India group Odyssey chapter sharing more on the updates there. Yeah, so look forward to that. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.